Welcome back to Black Lotus Buds. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Michael. Thanks for joining us.
We're kicking off our 7th episode on the channel where we're talking all things trading cards. And Michael, how are you doing since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Life is good. Got a lot of good opportunities on the horizon. You know, ready to keep building my trading card empire.
Nice. Any notable cards you've grabbed in the last couple days, weeks?
So, I mean, I haven't really, I've ripped a few packs of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple cool cards, but nothing notable. I did rip a Pokemon TCG Pocket, has a new set of cards, which I'm like, up in the air about, but we can talk about that a bit later. But I did pull like a Rapidash. I pulled two from that. One was a trainer card. It was like a 2-star card, which is pretty dang rare for those packs. And it was a trainer, and I'm like, completely bad attitude about it. I barely want those in real life, but knowing their demand and value and interest from others, it kind of makes it worth it. But having a non-tradable card, it's like, I was completely disinterested. But then I pulled a Rapidash. So I'm like full fire deck, and this Rapidash, it takes one card to evolve it, and it did like 40 damage, and then you flipped a coin, and it could do like 60 more or something for 2 energy cost, which is just like, I'm already feeling the power creep, I think, in Pokemon.
Wow.
Yeah, which is like crazy. And I don't know what the solution to that with cards are. Like, I almost feel like you would have to do like what Magic does, where you have, a 2-year period where you allow, like, we're going to do a series of sets. And so maybe you have a small amount of power creep, and maybe you do kind of like a boring rotation where you keep having cards of the same value. So, like, the first set might have a regular set. It's always, like, 40 damage here, 20 damage here. And then the next set might have, like, some stabby cards. And then you do slow power creep. And once you get to the end of the 2 years, you do, like, a whole new battle set. And you kind of start over. But, I mean, if you just constantly build it up, it's kind of like,
Where does it end?
I don't know. I feel like we're just headed towards, the next set. It's going to be either that, or if it's not balanced, then you're just only going to want cards from the one set, or only the people that have those cards are going to be winning battles. So, but I found it interesting. I looked at it. That was the one card I really looked at, because I was like, oh, I use Rapidash. So I was kind of interested in the new one.
Nice. What does Rapidash look like?
It's like a big old fiery pony. It's Ponyta's evolution.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a horse with fire mane and a fire tail. And Rapidash is just a bigger, badder version.
Oh,
I think in the anime, if the horse is friendly to you, the flames don't burn you, so you can sit in the flames and be fine. But if it's your enemy, they burn.
Exciting.
If I recall correctly.
I
What
find
about
it
you, man?
wild.
You open anything cool? Oh, sorry.
No, let me just. I find it wild that in Pokemon there's so many like mechanics based on just flipping a coin, and how many different variations of that there are. I mean, is it like
nonstop?
Do you get when you buy a pack or a box? I would probably just imagine in a box. Do you get like a special Pokemon coin that you would use to flip, or do you have to like just bring your own coin when you're playing these battles with people?
No, you actually do get a coin. So it's like usually a plastic coin with a Pokemon on it. I have one that my friend had, and I believe I had one and lost it, and so I bought one in adulthood. It's like a metal coin, but usually they're just plastic. And yeah, I mean, flipping is in like tons of cards. Like, you flip for damage, you flip to draw. It's just, I think that helps shake it up a little bit. and it also helps make it more interesting. So even when I was like just starting out on TCG Pocket, there were cards that, I mean, they were just stronger than my cards. I just didn't have anything cool yet. But I could still throw out a stabby Pokemon, and like, sure, most likely I would lose. But if I hit like two heads in a row a bunch of times, it was like there'd be nothing they could do. I think Pinsir has one we talked about. It was called Guillotine, where it's like you flip a coin and it does like 50 damage per heads, and I mean, that's a ton. That's most base Pokemon.
Yeah.
So it's like you could potentially you see the extreme card coming, and you're like, no, I'll just stop this right here, and I'll have a chance. And so it makes it interesting for Pokemon.
I like it. In Magic, there's plenty of cards that have these weird kind of one-off situations where you might be rolling a 20-sided dice. I don't really.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really know if there might be one that's like you can flip a coin. Nothing is coming to mind. But there's a really interesting card that is like there's 10 different abilities on this card. It's like a creature. And it says like at the beginning of combat, pick one of the 10 abilities at random. So, me and my buddy, the way we worked around that was like, okay, well, the first time there's going to be 10 that you choose from. So we can just use a 20-sided die, 1 through 10, and then 11 through 20 will be the same. And then after he has one of those 10 abilities on the creature, the next combat, then we just pretty much were like, all right, 1 through 9, and then 10 through 18, and then 19 and 20 will just be a reroll. So we were just kind of making up our own rule, kind of just to keep it still random with what we had, which was this 20-sided dice. But there's I mean, I wouldn't actually say a ton, but there is plenty of cards in Magic where it incorporates that kind of randomness that you see a lot in Pokemon, but not so much with this like consistent flipping of a coin and it beefing up your creature during combat, and then it's over, and then you're able to do it the very next time. I don't really know of a card in Magic of the more recent years that incorporates like a mechanism like that, other than the one that I kind of just mentioned.
Yeah, it's definitely more simple. I mean, they just don't have the variety of things. Like, they don't have, like, we talked about investigation versus bombardment deck versus, yeah, they don't have all that. It's, really the same different mechanics kind of spread out different ways. There are some subtle differences, but I would say Magic the Gathering is pretty much extreme with how much variation they have.
Yeah. And it's probably just because of the depth of the years where they've had, their employees just building out as many ideas as they can dream up of and then actually putting them into reality and creating these cards. I sidestepped your question if I've opened up any new packs recently, because I haven't. But I do have an unopened pack of Murders at Karlov Manor, and I kind of refuse to open it. It's not super exciting for me to pop that pack open right now, so it's just proudly displayed on a shelf.
Nice.
Yeah.
I still haven't found a card shop, but I want to, and this is just weird, I just want to have them. I don't necessarily need to open them. But I kind of want some, like, older, rarer packs just to have on me. And probably one day do what you just said, like just display it and just have it up there and kind of enjoy it. But I need to find some like reputable card shops that are, I don't know. I mean, I just like, I feel like that's not much of a thing. Like, you ever see like the YouTubers go in and it's like a sick card shop? It's nothing but cards. There's like people popping everywhere, playing on tables. They've got like boxes of cards on display for sale. They've got like PSA. It's like everything around me is much smaller, and I haven't seen any that have like packs of cards. And when I bought, yeah.
Go ahead. When you bought?
Well, no, I bought some at a convention, and they said they were factory sealed, but they were clearly not. And I actually didn't even like. I was like in denial about it for a while until I just realized, like, dude, one of the like the promos, instead of being in cellophane, like they were in baggies, like just little Ziploc bags. But I mean, it was enjoyable. It wasn't like a value thing. I was just buying cards to just buy them.
Yeah,
But
good.
it's like I don't really want to go to some place that doesn't have a reputation like that, a pop-up shop, because I don't trust of what I'm gonna get. You never know.
I'm
Um,
spoiled. There's a card shop just down the street from me that literally about a
God,
half mile away, and they've got an amazing selection. And they do have packs as far back as 2000 and oh my gosh, I don't think it was 2006. I actually think it was like 2014. So 10 years, packs from 10 years ago. They don't have any boxes or like booster boxes, smaller little boxes from these older years. I don't even know if booster boxes were a thing. I wasn't involved in these card games back then, but I love their selection and I trust this place as a reputable spot. I mean, I have bought in some pricier collector packs from them, just single packs that are 25 bucks, and pulled some pretty considerable cards to inch your way back to about breaking even. In a pack of however many cards, 15 or so, you'll make your money back some of the time. Haven't pulled a crazy foil card or anything like that, but I haven't given myself too many opportunities to, because I don't really go for those collector boxes as frequently. Mainly because I know I'm playing with these cards, as I've said many times. So I'm not worried about, like, I'd rather have just the regular version of the card and not feel like it has to be in a display untouched, and well kept, as opposed to some of these cards that once you pull out, you're like, okay, just keep this aside and don't even look at it too long. I don't want to dirty it with my eyes.
I mean, I have a lot of my setup like that. It's just out of necessity. I just don't have like a nice curio cabinet or anything like that. But I'm actually like, for some of my collecting, like my Charizard collection,
Mm-hmm.
I decided when I would buy those that like I didn't care anything about the condition. Like I have some really, I mean, they're just considered damaged. They're the worst condition you could possibly get, because I was like, it's not something I'm gonna resell. It's just something I want to keep and hold, is like, remember the history of this, and like, look at this old card, dude. Like this was from when I was in, such and such grade, and like in so I have them and they're just like bent, and you put them in a perfect fit, and then you put them in a dragon shield, and it's like you can enjoy them so much just like that. You don't worry about, like, the crease in it or whatever.
Yeah,
So I have a lot of cards like that, but unfortunately, even then, they sit in a binder and they rarely come out. I sent you a picture of that Skarmory card so you could see it.
I loved
And
it.
it took me a while to find that. I forgot that was in the one collection box. So I was literally going through my binder and was like, where would I have put this? Like, because I have a whole bunch of full arts, and I'm like, I don't understand. Why wouldn't I not put it in this binder? And then I figured it out. But
Yeah, my library is looking like that with Magic, where if I misplace a card, it's like, all right, I'll have to just find it next time. I'm reorganizing all my cards and putting away the loose ones back in the binders, back in like the boxes. I've got like a little smaller box that's just reserved for lands now, and I used to keep my lands, my rare and mythic lands, and just even the other ones, not the basic lands. Those are like the just cheapo ones, but just your nicer lands. I used to have them in binders, but then I just kept getting so many of them, and I realized I want to have these quickly accessible, especially if we do some sort of a like fun tournament setting style where we just need lands right away. We can just grab them and throw them into a deck and then pull them back out, keep them there. And I did
so
notice, like at these card shops, they do have a bunch of lands just right on the side of the table, ready for you to just throw into a deck for a draft tournament, and then just take them back out and leave them there.
nice. That's
Yeah.
convenient. So the card shop near me, they're like super overpriced. I bought a box recently. It was on like a Black Friday sale. It was buy one, it was 50% off. It was like a red sticker. And this is the same place that burned me last time, and I had to
Oh
go
no.
back and they made an adjustment. But I look up the price now because I'm like, I'm not gonna make that same mistake, and I decided it was partly on the burden of my responsibility to know what I'm buying. Unfortunately, you can't just trust everything anymore. So it's like I look it up, and this box is 50% off. It's like $120, and it's like a $45 box. So it's like they had it at like nearly triple, and it's half off. But I like did the math, and I'm like, well, it's convenient for me to get. I can look at it and know it's a box I like. Like I sent one back because it was so damaged. I was like, so I'll get it, and I know I'm paying $15 above what I could get it for online right now, but it's convenient, so I got it. But I just like was shaking my head, like, dude, like I don't know, man. I think that's like a deceptive practice. I don't believe. I mean, it's not a sale, and I understand places do that too. That's not uncommon, but it's like so egregious. Like it's already marked above when you can get to like triple the value as the regular mark price. There's just something wrong.
Yeah.
There's just you're doing something wrong as a salesman. I mean, that's just my opinion.
That's funny.
But so that card shop, I was looking at their Facebook page because they had done some raffle. I didn't win the raffle, so sad face. But it was when I purchased the Black Friday thing, and I'm scrolling through, and I saw some dudes I used to hang out with in high school, and they were playing like a year ago. They were playing in some tournaments there. And I'm like, dude, I might hit them up on Facebook and be like, yo, are you guys interested in trading card games? Because they are a nerdy and comfortable group. They're like good people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they've been through in all this time, but I trust that they're still good people.
Nice.
So I might hit them up and try to do like drafts and find like a little trading card group, man, and start building that up.
It'd be fun. I don't have many friends that I would be able to trade cards with, but there is a buddy of mine who just inherited a fairly large collection of Magic going way back. How many years, I don't know, but very much so to the 1990s. And
Wow.
we've gone over some, like one of 12 big boxes that he had, that he was like, any duplicates, you're welcome to grab, one of them. And I ended up with like a stack of 200 cards after just that first box, and I was like, please do not bring the other boxes ever over here, because I'm just going to keep adding more and more cards to my collection that I don't need. I mean, these are cool older cards that will be crazy and OP into newer decks, but it was just more or less exciting to just see, like, you're like, oh my gosh, now I understand how this deck idea was created, because it probably started with cards way back then in 1995 and on. And yeah, it makes for not necessarily needing to buy as many cards, but I want to be able to like trade with somebody and get that satisfaction, knowing that we're both happy with like trading a expensive card with an expensive card, and one that you would know that you'd be able to use. Again, it's me wanting to play with them. I'm only thinking of which of my decks that have I made will a card fit and work with and synergize with.
You know what I did once? I got together with a friend of mine, and we bought this was I mean we were in high school, I think, but we bought an eBay listing of a lot of Pokemon cards, and we decided my favorite Pokemon was Fire, and his type was Psychic, and so by default we didn't know what the card lot was. We knew like some vague idea of what the card types were and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and we felt it was like several $100s, which in like high school that felt substantial for Pokemon cards, like, right?
Wow.
And I took every Fire card, he took every Psychic card, and then every other card we went through each one and we decided who got it.
Sweet.
But it was a blast, man. I still have cards from that collection. Like,
Yeah, I was just gonna ask,
I don't,
like, do you have those buried
yeah,
somewhere?
I do. Now, I did at one point, and I regret doing this. It was a lot of rare cards. Like, it was like base set cards that were colorless or shadowless, is what they call them, and they weren't in great condition. And I got rid of them because they were bulk, and I was like, I was trying to grow out of Pokemon, but Everything that was like a rare card or a holo, I have all of those. I didn't throw any of those away. There's something about the nostalgia from being a kid and pulling the star card, and it was like I never let that go. I'm like, no, shiny cardboard is cardboard I keep. Like I like, yeah, let me grow up, but I'm not getting rid of this. Like,
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a while ago, and I think we touched on it briefly. I don't know if it was actually on the podcast. What got you into trading cards from day one, going all those
like
years back?
it was Pokemon. It was I probably watched the show, but I think what influenced me the most was the video game.
And this
I
was
had
the Game
read,
Boy, right?
yeah, the Game Boy Color was
Hmm.
Pokemon Red was the first one I got. And then I ended up getting Blue and Yellow and I played them all, but I played those to death. I just loved them, man, and I would play it all the time, like nonstop. And I actually was so into that. I played all the way throughout Sword and Shield. I think I caught all. I was like 700 some Pokemon in an application called the Pokebank. But that's what did it for me, and I started, doing the cards too. It might have been my cousins that helped influence that, because they already had the cards, and I thought the cards were neat too. I started collecting those, but I was a bad collector in the very beginning. Um, my grandfather actually influenced that a little bit because he collected stamps, and he kind of taught me the value of collecting and keeping things pristine. And he collected coins, and I collected coins as well. I was already quite the little collector as a child. Um,
Hmm.
so Pokemon was a natural thing, and it was, instead of being boring stamps or shiny metal, the coins were cool as a kid because they're heavy and they're metal, and there's something about precious metals that they have some sort of weird natural attraction for human beings. Like birds are the
Yeah.
same way. Like they want to take your keys and shit. I don't know what that is, but it felt good. But this was magical creatures that could battle, and I had them. I had them on my Game Boy Color in my pocket, and that started it all for me. So
Sweet.
I did some Yu-Gi-Oh, and I played some Yu-Gi-Oh in school, but it was like 1 year in middle school, and I lost interest in that. It didn't keep me interested. Like, someone ruined the show is what happened. They said, "Hey man, don't you realize at the end of every show, he just believes in himself and he draws the card he needs and wins?" And as soon as I realized that was the truth, I stopped watching. I was like, "Oh, well, and that's probably similar to other shows, but like I know Pokemon Ash kind of sucked, so it was interesting to watch him fail and grow or not.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I
fair.
don't know. It was too easy for like Yu-Gi-Oh to be like heart of the cards, and he would just draw what he needed. It didn't really make sense either. It would be like Magic cards, but instead of them functioning, it would have like some random, like, I pulled this otter and it fuses with this, and it's like you couldn't do that in the real game, but it happened in the show. It was just weird. I watched that in the last year. I watched some Yu-Gi-Oh, and it was like 5 or 6 episodes, and that show is insane. They're like throwing people off a cruise ship. They're like kidnapping and threatening people's lives, and they're like teenagers
Oh my
getting
gosh.
threatened and stuff. It's crazy, and there's like the dark magic, like Egyptian gods. It's just a wild, like, thematic experience.
Hmm. Very cool.
Um,
But that's sweet.
yeah, it was interesting. What about you?
Cool to
What
know.
got you into trading cards?
You know, I didn't watch much of the show, but it was Pokemon, and it was the original set. And I remember being
Yes.
on like it was a trip to Nova Scotia, Canada. So we got on a boat, and then my dad surprised my brother and I with I think it was a couple packs of Pokemon each. And I remember so vividly that experience, and the whole time on the boat, couldn't care less about looking out the window at the ocean or anything. It was just um, staring at those cards and having them be so impressionable. And then right away, I don't think I got anything spectacular. I do remember of all the packs, my brother definitely won with probably getting a foil, something or other. And then from there, I was like, we had that competitive itch where I was like, oh shoot, I gotta get my own shiny card now. And then weeks later, probably on the school bus, it was trading and learning that other friends had their own cards. And then we got a binder. I was able to put my cards in that binder, which I actually still have. And I can't wait to get back in my possession, but I do know where it is. And then just traded with the friends on the school bus. There would be other events like bowling alleys that we would be trading cards with other kids, and kind of grew from there. It kept getting more and more cards and really just put them in that one binder. I'm sure I have cards in good condition from the fossil set, the 2 set, whatever that would have. Is that like original 2 or something? You know, the one that had the 2?
Yeah, they had one. It was called Base Set 2.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if it's brilliant or villainous, but it was literally the identical base set, and they just
Put the
slapped a
2.
stamp on it. And we're like, it's Base Set 2. And
Yeah.
I mean, touche, because I have a master set of that as well. And I honestly, flipping
my
through it,
goodness.
I even feel like, I'm like, this is stupid, right?
Yeah. How do we all get fooled into doing this? But, it gives you a better
Yeah.
shot at getting a Charizard or, why do I always get confused? Bulbasaur comes before Venusaur, right? That's the one that everybody wants, Venusaur, of those 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
For
it's
some reason.
Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur.
There we go. Okay.
But
I
you
guess
gotta
that's what it is.
understand, this was before Pokemon had decided to come out with more Pokemon. So base set 2, they were trying to figure out how to keep this card game printing and running. And eventually they did generations, and Japan was always ahead, so I'm speaking from my own experience, but it's like, they didn't have generation 2 out. And you saw 4 sets after that. And then they came out with, boom, here's generation 2. And now they're at generation 56 or something.
Yeah. In only 20 years. They just keep throwing them together. It's fun. Well, let me jump right into this one or that one. Which one will it be?
Excellent.
All right, so there's 2 cards that are similar but different. And again, the segment where we talk about which of these 2 would be better in competitive play. Totally opinion based. Can't be wrong. So we're going to start with the first card. I must ask you, are you ready for this, Michael?
Oh, I'm ready.
Alrighty. The first one is Anthem of Champions. It is 1 forest, 1 plains, and it's an enchantment. It's from the new set Foundations. And this is what it reads. Creatures you control get +1/+1. So for 2 mana, you throw it on the battlefield, and right away, it buffs up all your creatures.
Does that last just forever unless it's interfered with another player's card?
As long as the other opponent doesn't remove it from the battlefield, it will be in effect throughout all stages of each of everybody's turns.
Yeah, I'm already into this card, so.
Okay. And for 2 mana, it's there. A lot of times you could find that in a 3 mana card. So for 2 mana, very strong. It is a rare. And then to pair with it, that was this, and then that is Essence Channeler. Okay, this is a 2 mana cost creature. It's a bat cleric. It's 1 plains, 1 colorless. And this is what it reads. And it's also from Bloomburrow. And it reads, as long as you've lost life this turn, Essence Channeler has flying and vigilance. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Essence Channeler. When Essence Channeler dies, put its counters on target creature you control. So, whenever you gain life, you put a 1/1 counter on it. It's a 2/1 creature to start, so it really can't block anything without dying right away. But give it a couple turns or just gain some life, get some 1/1 counters on it, and now it can be a little bit stronger. The only again, it doesn't get flying and vigilance unless you've lost life during your turn. So you'd need to be losing life before combat, in order to have this creature, be all of a sudden ascended into a flying creature with vigilance, which is then going to be relatively powerful. So which of these two, this or that, Michael, would you want in competitive play?
So this is hard because it's hard for me to understand the power of the second card, and I have a feeling, and I'm just too ignorant about the cards in Magic, the other cards that might pair with that. The first one is very plain and simple, and I like it. However, I just feel like in Magic, you probably are aiming at finding, and this is you've taught me this in my very little amount of Magic playing I've done, but you're looking for cards that you can combine to make an overpowered deck and an overpowered gimmick. And I just feel like there's a higher potential just from knowing what the card does for the second card. So for this one, although like the first one has obvious utility, I'm gonna say that is the better card. Like if I were choosing, I'm picking that.
Sweet. I am agreeing with you entirely. The first card is great, being that it is a forest and a plains. That means that you do have to have one of each of those lands. So early in the game, if you have 2 lands in your hand, you have a dual color deck. You probably have a land in your hand that's both plains and forest, and then you have either a plains or forest basic land in your hand, you would assume. So quickly you're going to be able to get that card on the battlefield without too many issues. But that's all it does. It gives the creatures 1/1, and that's it. The other one, you can really break your opponent down, I guess. More what I'm thinking is like actually break the game in the ways that you can use it, which is great. I mean, that's pretty much what you're always looking for, is ways to like escalate the game quicker than most people would like expect to see your gameplay go. That card I love so much, this or that, Essence Chandler. The reason why is whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it. So there's lands that when they enter the battlefield, they enter tapped and you gain 1 life. So at the beginning of your turn, you can literally play one of those lands, instantly give this creature a +1/+1 counter. Then if you have another creature, like Life Creed Duo, that is anytime a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Well, if you have that creature on the battlefield and then you play Essence Chandler, right away, Essence Chandler is going to get a +1/+1 counter before anything else happens, just because it's entered the battlefield and that it triggered that ability of the other card. So in one turn, you can simply just play this Essence Chandler, and if Life Creed Duo is out, you just gain a life. Then you can play a land that gives you another life that adds another counter. So already it's a 4/3 creature before you've done anything. Then there's another cool enchantment that allows you to spend 2 mana, lose a life, and draw a card, and then that would help trigger that ability, like probably on your next turn, to give it vigilance and flying. And already now you're doing some serious damage with flying, usually that early in the game, because this is just a 2 mana card. So bravo, Michael. I support you in your decision. That is the winner of this or that segment tonight. Great job.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a cool card.
And what they look like, I only looked up the normal cards because that's what I do, but I know you'll probably want to look up the alternate art. The Anthem of Champions looks like a bunch of warriors behind shields with spears. So that +1/+1 effect looks like they're working together with their shields. Essence Chandler, I don't even know how to describe this. It just looks like a ghostly figure with like ghostly wings, and I guess those wings don't go from translucent to opaque whenever you give it flying and vigilance. So anyway.
Cool.
Yeah.
They sound cool.
Yeah, it's
Well,
always nice to
Rocky
have a
thinks they're
strong
cool.
2 mana card in your deck. There was another card.
Yo,
Gosh,
so
I
yeah, go ahead.
I found. Okay, so I'm at the local card shop down the street, and I'm digging through the boxes, and out comes this Control Magic card. It's for 4 mana, 2 islands, and 2 colors. It's an enchantment aura, and it just is enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. So any super large creature your opponent has, as long as it doesn't have hexproof, which would prevent it from being the target of any spells, you would just simply put this on it, and now that creature is yours, and you can immediately use it to attack them, block their creatures, whatever it is. Pretty fun card, and I wanted to grab it, and I just happened to look it up on some website just to see, because I was like, oh, I know this is an older card, but let me look it up. Well, if it were from the original set that it actually came out of, this card, I believe the price that it's showing me would have been worth $1,760. I don't know if that's based off
Jeez.
of the last sale or what, but this was like a reprint of that card. So this one's only worth like 30 cents or something. Nothing crazy at all. I thought that you might enjoy that, because had it been actually from one of the original, like the original set that this card was printed in, probably in the first couple of years of Magic being around from 1993, this would have been an $1,800 card pretty much. So I thought that
It's
was
so
wild.
interesting because I definitely have like I bought a Charizard that was a couple $100 and it's all beat up and it's like so I understand with personal experience the desirability of a card. But then sometimes you talk about them and we're all like talk about them and it is just hard to fathom like when you don't have the very specific reason. It's like even though I'm doing this myself, I'm like I can't believe someone will pay that for that. But it's like I guess it's just supply and demand at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day. Something I was going to bring up earlier. Um, I don't know what it was. It was something we were talking about in this podcast, but I don't know if I've ever brought it up. And I wanted to ask you what you might find to be superior. And I kind of feel like I don't know. So far, I am extremely satisfied with how Pokemon does this. And although I don't really I guess I don't dislike how Magic does it. I'm certainly happy Pokemon does it the way they do. Like I wouldn't want them to switch it. And so what I'm talking about is the pull rates of things like holographics. I think it might have been when you mentioned on that trip to Canada, you were like, my brother got one and it was the holo. And back in the day, dude, you could pull any holo, it was the hit. Like that was what you were looking for. And nowadays, you not only get a guaranteed holo, you get two guaranteed reverse holos. And we even hit this point in Pokemon where you could buy a pack, and since you could sell the reverse holos for $1 each, and you could probably sell your holo for a couple bucks, and then you can sell your commons for a few cents each, it's like you essentially were winning every Pokemon card pack. Now, in practical purposes, I'm ripping a ton of these. I'm not selling any of them, really.
Right.
So I would sell maybe if I pulled the highest value card, like I pulled a Charizard, which I can't believe, but it was $100 and I needed the money at the time, and it was something that I just didn't care for. And I'm a huge fan of Charizard cards, and I was like, you know what? I'd rather have a damaged one that I buy 5 years from now than this one. It's like, so I sold it, but I really enjoy getting those holographic hits. And, you get this satisfaction from getting these little shiny cards, and it gives you something where, the reverse holo, it's basically the everything but the art image is holographic. But it still gives you kind of a nice display if you want to put them in a binder or you want to put them on a shelf or something. And then, the rare card slot can come with, extremely rare Pokemon that are also holographic or full art versions or some gimmick for the set. They're all gold or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they're prism holographic, or they're explosive, firework holographic style. I think Yu-Gi-Oh does something similar, but Magic is like I've been buying the collector booster bundle, like the collector play booster box,
Oh wow,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's random. It's like sometimes you don't get anything, and you don't get mythic every time for sure. That's like only a couple of box, and sorcery is similar. You don't get. I got like 5 holographics. You're not guaranteed a holo unique, and it's like I always enjoy pulling my Pokemon packs. And I like how they do that, man. What are your opinions on that?
Now they do have like they'll break down the math for this collector booster box that you got, for example, or this collector box, where like in each pack it is a guaranteed 4 cards that are rare or better. I think in each of those packs, but what I think is if you're ripping pack after pack of those, and there's so many foils to keep up with, it's like guaranteed that you're gonna have 4 like common foil cards too, or something wild like that. So you're seeing so much foil and so many rares that a mythic is going to go unnoticed, and it may not even like wow you because you're already looking at relatively decent, so many relatively decent cards, specifically when you're just seeing like 4 rares in a pack. Now in like a play booster pack, a draft booster pack, or a set booster pack, those the chances of like there's only one guaranteed rare, I think, per pack, and it could be a mythic. So that those packs are when you actually get a mythic, there's more of a satisfaction out of it because the chances of you getting that mythic you would assume are way lower than comparing it to this collector box that you're referring to. I've opened up a whole box, not a whole box actually. Me and my buddy split a collector box of a vampire deck back in the day. I think it might have been Innistrad Midnight Hunt. I can't really remember for sure. But there was just so many wild, great cards that were rares. We didn't get I think to your point, we didn't really get many mythics at all. I think we each got an alternate art mythic that was not foil, and it was just like, okay, well, this isn't really cool compared to a couple of these other rares that I got that are actually shiny. And you look at it like, all right, well, I'd rather just look at this card and throw it in my deck than that mythic that I don't have a purpose for it. I actually remember the card. It was called Wedding Ring. And it's actually worth like a couple bucks, so it's not like a terrible card. But it's just a wild one because you basically put your wedding ring on the battlefield, and then your opponent creates a copy of it, and now you both are merged together. So it's something along the lines of anytime you draw a card, they draw a card. Anytime you gain life, they gain life. And that is now vice versa for them. So on their turn, they have the same token of your wedding ring, which reads, if your opponent, or, anytime you gain life, your opponent gains that much life as well. So it's a wild one because it really just sets it up so you're just top decking pretty much at that point. Anything on the top of the deck, you're hoping you're going to just beat your opponent with versus what they've got that they're drawing. And again, just another wild deck idea that's out there just with that one card. But that's my 2 cents on it. I just think that these other packs, you get more of a thrill when you actually pull, an alternate art, mythic or rare or whatever it might be, some foil card. If versus just seeing
I
so
think
many of them in a pack.
some of the difference might be the way I approach each game. Like, because I appreciate the way Magic does it too. But I think it's because when I'm pulling Magic, you've got me in the mindset of, you know, I'm more of a fan of the art of Pokemon because of nostalgia. Like, I just
Yes.
see the old Pokemon and I get hype over whatever they are doing. I'm like, it's so cute or whatever. And even though I appreciate some of the magic, I'm more interested, I think, when I see a card that's like a cool mechanic that I know is, I'm like, oh, this is what they're using in to battle with, or this is in a deck that's useful. And to be honest, I don't know what those are, but I'm not as pressed to get a cool shiny because it's like I don't know, they're all just random to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in Pokemon, I think I really appreciate it because when I'm not pulling a hit, the artwork is so cool. It's the same way when I opened up Bloomburrow, I was like, oh, these cute animals, they're adorable. It's like I open Pokemon and I'm always happy that I have like one card from there. There's
Hmm.
always something in there I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. And right now I just kind of stick most of them in a box unless I get a full art. And the full art, but those are like my big, like my gold nuggets, the gold rush. I find those, I'm like, yes. Um, and so it's kind of like I get this small appreciation every pack looking for the big hits. In Magic, the only reason I don't appreciate it in that fashion is I think because I don't have the knowledge. So where you might see me open a pack and you'd be like, "Oh my god, dude, you just passed through this one card and it's worth like $30 because it's a battle card, you know what I mean? And it's
Hmm.
like and it's used in this way." I would just be like, "Yeah, okay." I would literally like only see it for half a second and then I would be on to the next. I would never even know. Um,
And
so I
another thing
think that
too.
just subtleties.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like a blue. So like you always look at the icon, right? The icon is like
Yep.
white. I think actually I would call it black, white or black. The icon that's common, but I think it's called. I mean, it's like usually white, and then blue is uncommon, yellow rare, red mythic. If you and as you open up more and more packs, I'm sure that will draw your attention more and more. You'll especially and the order of the way they put these cards in the packs too. Like you'll know if you keep going through from front to back, you're gonna stumble upon the best card, right there towards the end, and hope for that mythic. But there are plenty of uncommon cards that are those blue icons that are incredible and like they hold the weight of a competitive deck. Um, and as I mentioned once before, like with these mythics, you don't want to just fill up an entire deck with a bunch of mythics and call it a day. The mythics help complete the strategy that you have with your uncommon cards and rare cards. These rares are a little bit more beefy than these uncommons, but you do need plenty of these cards in the beginning of a game to just get creatures out there or get some enchantments, artifacts, whatever it might be. Get your board state ready so that when that mythic comes out, it pretty much is the final piece of your puzzle, and then now you can continue to stack more pieces and just turn this into a wild experience. And I think it's just all about that. Once you start to see that color differential, you're like, okay, I saw 3 yellows in one pack. Okay, that's sweet. These collectors though that you're opening up, gosh, I can't imagine what you're looking at because it's just a whole bunch of wildness, tons of alternate
Yeah, yeah.
art, tons of
You'll see because I have eventually a Duskborn video coming out, and
cool.
it's only like half of a box. I don't know if it's January or what, but I look forward for you being like, bro. I can just picture you're gonna be like, dude, this card. You just like flicked it like it was dirt and like listen to what it does. Like, I can't
Yeah,
wait.
there's one card, and this is a little bit of a topic here. It is from Duskborn House of Horror, and it's called Kate. It's called Kato, Bane of Nightmares, and it's a Planeswalker. This card, when the set came out, it like dropped in price. It was only like $5. Well, in the last couple of weeks, it's soared in price, and I think right now it's sitting at 25, ungraded, just near mint or lightly played, whatever it is. This card, I knew this would be a good card, a great Planeswalker. If you want to look it up, it's again Kaito, Kaito, Kato, Bane of Nightmares. It's like one of the only Planeswalkers in the Duskborn set, I think, if not the only one. And it is the complement to everybody's ninjutsu decks. So these black and blue decks that are all about fooling your opponent into attacking. So let's say you have all these creatures out there, and your opponent has one lousy creature. You attack with everything. They block one of your creatures. Any of your unblocked creatures, you can do this ability which is called ninjutsu, where whatever the card's ninjutsu cost is, you can pay that in the middle of combat. It now replaces one of your attacking creatures with this card that you play. And then now the card that you're taking off the battlefield, you just put rack in your hand. So you don't lose that card. It's actually a fun strategy because that card might be something like when it leaves the battlefield, it triggers this ability. Or every time it enters the battlefield, it triggers this ability so that, you know, your next turn or later in that turn, you can play it and then get that ability to trigger again. And Kato, Bane of Nightmares, is just a very, very strong card because if you can ninjutsu it onto the battlefield, it only costs 3 mana. And then right away, it becomes a creature. It says, during your turn, as long as Kato has 1 or more loyalty counters on it, he's a 3/4 ninja creature and has hexproof. Okay, so now it's a creature that can't be touched by a spell. And right away, you can add an emblem onto the battlefield, which is ninjas you control get +1/+1. And that's just the +1 ability of it. There's the other 2 abilities, but look those up if you want. I really just want to harp on the fact that it gets an emblem on the battlefield that turn right away. It has hexproof, so you pretty much, most cases, can't stop that from happening. And an emblem in Magic is something new, Michael, to you probably, and that's why I just want to bring it up. It's probably been in the game for many, many years because of these Planeswalkers, but usually you get an emblem when you do the most expensive ability of the Planeswalker, which is usually that ability on the very bottom of it. So an emblem is something that is on the battlefield. There's nothing that can target an emblem. It is now just permanently a part of the game, and that is ninjas you control get +1/+1. So if you have a deck full of ninjas, immediately this card, while it's attacking, can pretty much like bump up everything. I don't know in the middle of combat if it can bump up everything or if it would finish attacking and then you would be able to bump up everything for the following turns. But then you can literally just do that. Every turn you could just do another +1/+1. Just add another loyalty counter onto this Planeswalker, and then it would give all your creatures another emblem that is all of them get +1/+1. So it's...
I mean, a ninja deck sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much I appreciate of Magic the Gathering, and it's like I'm beginning to appreciate the mechanics without even having seen or held these cards, and I just think that's fascinating. That's something that it's like your excitement brings it to me, and it's like I mean, everybody. It's always good when you can appreciate something because it means you're like truly experiencing joy, right? Like if you even a meal, like if you're like eat the meal and it's good, that's all great. But if you appreciate a meal, it's like a whole nother level. And I feel like that's what you're bringing that to me with Magic. So it's always great, man. Do you think it's a good time for, do you have anything before I might start our last segment here?
Yeah, let's jump into it.
All right. Well, I've been working on this just a hair here, and I'm hoping after 10 episodes or so, or at least when we end this segment, I'll have built this into a very good thing. So, well, it means, I guess now it is time for Sejum's Satisfaction, a game with points and prizes. Kevin, you have 540 points.
Woohoo!
Suffice to say, the mighty Jin Sejum is very pleased right now. If Sejum reaches maximum satisfaction, he will send you an IRL prize. So, yeah, that's what's at stake here. At the end of the last game, you are riding the Jin through the skies as he is transformed into a Red Eyes Black Dragon, a card we were discussing before.
Oh, yeah.
We will continue on that same journey, and you are flying through the night sky, and the stars above are just a sight to behold. You can see, almost like you could see all the stars in the sky. Purples and blues, and just an awesome experience. And you gaze in disbelief, the clouds, passing below your feet. Kevin, I just want to ask, what are you thinking about on this ride right now?
I'm in fairyland. I'm just now basking in the glory of having the Jin on my side for once in my miserable life. So I'm appreciating this moment, and I'm just soaking it all in.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so as you ride, man, the clouds, they open up. and below you see a beautiful grand palace. And the red eyes black dragon, the Jinn, he glides over a large open area towards this palace, and you see beautiful fountains, golden clad tiles, artwork all within this palace walls and everywhere you look. It's just frankly awesome. As you get close to the ground, the Jinn, he starts to kind of melt away, but you feel safe and secure, not like you're falling, and you end up landing gently on your feet. And as you land, you notice you're now just alone in this giant beautiful palace. Before you, a golden platter with 3 figurines and a giant red stone door, a double door, a big arched red door. And you look down, you see these figurines. One is a diamond mantis shrimp. One is a koala-shaped voodoo doll soaked in blood. And the other is a koi fish that's been carved from bone. And you have to choose one. Which will you choose?
Oh boy. Well, I've actually experienced a mantis shrimp in real life in a crazy way, but we can save that for another time. I'm gonna go with the mantis shrimp. I know that there's crazy powers in that creature.
Okay, this is just a side note. I went a little hard on like imagining these selections, and it was a little brutal. You made a very safe choice.
Okay.
So you select the diamond mantis shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
As you pick it up, it melts away, turns to dust, and that dust glides into that red door. It glows and opens, and you walk in, and you see a dojo full of mantis shrimp ninjas. You see mantis shrimp busting through concrete walls. You see mantis shrimp training and doing arts together. And then, as if by magic, you see this figure unfold, this motion from above, and you realize it's a camouflage mantis shrimp. And he magically comes into focus and appears, and he says to you, "The Jinn has sent me to ask you these sets of questions." As you know, your good friend Michael purchases PSA 10 cards, and he has another. What set is this card from? Now, these are all worth 25 points each. The question answers are A, Yu-Gi-Oh!, B, Dragon Ball Super, C, One Piece, or D, Flesh and Blood.
Wow. I'm gonna go with D, Flesh and Blood.
All right. Well, the mantis shrimp, he politely bows, and he tells you that you are incorrect. This card is from Dragon Ball Super. I've never gotten Flesh and Blood yet, so that was a decoy, but that's a real set out there.
Yeah.
But the card is a Son Goku, which is the main character of this series.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it is an alternate art of him like sending out a ki blast. It was just a cool card. You know, I don't even remember what price this was. I have been fairly modest going with like the $30-$40 range because I'm buying so many of these. I'm gonna have an epic collection. But it's just a Goku, a Son Goku, and it is a gem mint alternate art. So it's pretty much won my heart with just that as the criteria.
Nice.
It does have a kind of cool texture to it, and it's all holographic, so it looks very nice. The Mantis Shrimp, he looks you in the eye and he asks you this second question. Now, this, to any Dragon Ball fan, is an obvious question. It's an obvious answer. But to you, I believe this will be quite difficult. The question is, what form is Son Goku in? Is it A, Super Saiyan Green? Is it B, Super Saiyan Rose? Is it C, Super Saiyan Blue? Or is it D, Big Man Super Saiyan God Mode Ultimate?
Oh my gosh, that sounds like you just made that up.
I mean, you never know, man.
What was that
Never
last
know.
one? What was option D again?
D is Big Man Super Saiyan God Mode Ultimate.
Okay.
Any true fan would know the answer to this.
I'm gonna just
Because only one of these is the form that would be associated with Son Goku.
Gosh, it's like a trick question. All these colors, you got blue, green, rose, and then this Super Saiyan Ultim or whatever the heck. You know, my gut was leaning towards rose, but I'm gonna just commit to Super Saiyan Ultim or whatever. I want this to be right.
All right. Well, you look the mantis shrimp in the eye, and somehow, although you don't know where his face may be, he smiles, and you can tell. Big Man Super Saiyan God Mode Ultimate, I just made up. I just figured that it would totally be something that Japan made up or got translated. That is how the series go. He is in Super Saiyan Blue, which is like a God tier Super Saiyan version. Super Saiyan Green is made up, and Super Saiyan Rose is somehow also a form.
Oh, cool.
All of which, it was like a form of some evil villain who had Super Saiyan Blue, but since he was a god and had his own powers, he called it Super Saiyan Rose, and it had a different rosy appearance. But not a bad guess, although Big Man Super Saiyan God Mode Ultimate is hilarious. I could totally imagine being in the next series. So no points yet, but we have one more question. The Mantis Shrimp, he bows, and he asked you, what is the quantity of this card in Gem Mint? And the answers are always the same here. It is A, between 1 and 10, B, 11 to 50, C, 51 to 500, and D, more than 500.
You said it was a main card earlier, so I am locking in C, 51 to 500. Final answer.
Excellent choice. The Mantis. He claps his hands and he says, congratulations, you're awarded 25 points. The quantity of this card is 103. So he's a main character. I think it's not like the rarest card for sure in the set. Like nothing that's going to be in my lower price range is going to be that. But he's a popular card, so it's going to be more than like 1 to 10 in my price range. So I try my best not to get like more than 500. But honestly, it's going to be inevitable. I'm going to have to get some flair in my collection, and I'm going to have to branch out, and that's sometimes going to, in my price range, again, it's going to require, having more than 500 copies.
Is that 100 and change specific to the alternate art, this borderless one or whatever you had said it was?
Yes, yeah, it's this exact card. There's only 103 that are in a Gem Mint grade from Sports Authentication.
Cool.
So yeah, good job. You got 25 points so far. Now today I'm making a change because I wanted to change how I asked the challenge question, but I decided that awarding you 500 points was too high a value for today's challenge. So today's challenge is worth 250 points. If you get it incorrect, the points you've been awarded so far will be cut in half. If you get it correct, you will get 250 points added to what you've earned already towards satisfying the gym.
Now, this isn't... The other points I got in from previous episodes are locked in, right? We're just talking about the points that I got today?
Correct.
Okay,
You've got
cool.
540. It's resulted in him being very pleased so far, which it's pretty good progress. So for today's challenge, I wanted to go back to reading the card because of how I appreciate you reading the Magic cards to me. And I feel like we might start to learn these other games just through the card text.
Beautiful.
So, this is going to be another number question. I'm going to read you exactly what this card does, having no idea myself what Dragon Ball Super is like in the competitive game. And I'm going to add an X to one of these values, and you will have to tell me what value that X is. There will be no multiple choice. You will just have to tell me whatever number you think it may be.
Oh boy. All right then.
So this is Son Goku, and it says, on play, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand. Then choose up to X of your opponent's battle cards with 20,000 power or less and KO it. And my question is, what number is the X? And I will ask this one more time for you and our viewers here, or listeners. So, Son Goku, on play, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand. Then, choose up to X of your opponent's battle cards with 20,000 power or less and KO it. What number is the X?
And it says from your life, LIFE. That's the beginning part of that card. Remove.
Yeah, I thought about what that meant too. I'm not sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's hard for me to triangulate and transpose. But what I'm going to lock in is 1 final answer.
Okay. All the mantis shrimp, they stop their dojo activities.
Oh, no.
They turn to you
Pressure's
and they
on.
bow.
They bow. Okay.
You have gotten this correct. So it just says you choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 20,000 power or less and KO it. I thought it might mislead you because, Son Goku is a main character. It's
Yeah, it might be.
I was hoping you would presume it was a very powerful card. But that was an excellent selection with no multiple choice. And you are awarded 250 points, totaling 275 points.
Oh, boy.
And the mantis in front of you begins to grow. He breaks through the ceiling, and it is revealed he is Sejum, the mighty Jin.
Of course he is.
He holds out his mantis claw, and you walk up onto it, as if knowing this is the right thing to do. And you'll finish this round with, let's see, that will be 815 total points with the Jin in absolute satisfaction. And we will end this round with you just sitting in the palm of his mantis shrimp claws.
All right then. I love it.
Yeah. Congratulations, man. You are making your way towards winning the prize, IRL, which I'm excited about as well. I'm trying to throttle you down a little bit, but you're just cruising along, man. Congratulations.
I want it, man. I want it all. That's cool. I can't wait to see what this mantis shrimp does to me next time. He's already done so well, so much for me.
I like how you braced for them to murder you. Like, you were like,
oh yeah. I was like, all right, if all of them stopped what they're doing and looked at me, I'm thinking the main one's just gonna point at me and have all of them attack. That's fun stuff. Cool, love it. Well, with that, we can start to wrap things up here. So, any other comments, suggestions, or notable cards to mention?
Oh, I think that's it. I'm going to save it all for our very next podcast.
Awesome. Well, I love it, and had a blast as always, Michael. So, pleasure again, and thanks everybody for joining us. We will catch you all next time.